Hi guys, welcome back. Today we are going to talk about something that almost everyone wants, but very few people truly understand. Confidence, not the fake version, not the performative version, not the version that collapses the moment something goes wrong or someone criticizes you. Genuine, unshakable, deeply rooted self-belief, the kind that does not require external validation to survive, the kind that exists whether you are winning or losing, whether people are applauding you or doubting you, the kind that the most effective, most fulfilled, most resilient people in the world operate from every single day. Confidence is not a feeling you wait for. It is not a personality trait you are born with or without. It is not something that arrives one day when enough good things finally happen in your life. Confidence is a neurological and psychological construct that is built deliberately, systematically, through specific mechanisms, and can be developed by any person willing to understand and apply those mechanisms with consistency. Today we are going to go deep into exactly what those mechanisms are, and by the end of this video, you will have a precise evidence-based framework for building the kind of confidence that does not depend on how you feel on a given morning or whether your life is going smoothly. Let us begin. Part 1. What confidence actually is at the neurological level. Most people define confidence as feeling good about yourself. This is a surface-level definition that completely misses the underlying architecture of what confidence actually is and how it actually works. At the neurological level, genuine confidence is best understood as a calibrated predictive model. Your brain is constantly generating predictions about what will happen next, including precise predictions about your own capacity to handle challenges, navigate uncertainty, and produce desired outcomes in specific situations. These predictions are based on the accumulated evidence your brain has collected through lived experience over time. Every time you attempted something difficult and succeeded, even partially, your brain updated its predictive model upward. Every time you attempted something difficult and failed, and then recovered, adapted, and continued, your brain also updated its predictive model upward, because the evidence collected was not just about the outcome. It was about your capacity to survive difficulty and return from it stronger. And every time you avoided a challenge, every time you retreated from discomfort before fully engaging it, your brain updated its predictive model downward, not dramatically, but incrementally, consistently. Every single act of avoidance is a data point your brain files under one category: I cannot handle this. And the accumulation of those data points, that growing body of negative evidence, is precisely what people experience as low confidence. This is the neurological reason why avoidance destroys confidence over time, not just because you miss the opportunity to succeed, but because the act of retreat itself generates evidence. The absence of action is not neutral, it is negative data. Confidence, therefore, is the accumulated evidence of your own competence and resilience, stored in neural networks and expressed as predictive beliefs about your future capacity. And this has one profound and deeply liberating implication. Confidence cannot be thought into existence, it cannot be affirmed into existence, it cannot be visualized into existence while simultaneously avoiding the actual challenges that would build it. It can only be built through action, through evidence, through the deliberate accumulation of experiences that teach the nervous system, not just the rational mind, that you are capable of facing what is in front of you. Part 2. The neuroscience of confidence. Let us go deeper into the specific brain systems involved, because this understanding fundamentally changes how you approach building confidence. The prefrontal cortex, particularly the ventromedial and dorsolateral prefrontal regions, plays a central role in self-evaluation, the regulation of threat responses, and the capacity to act in alignment with long-term values rather than short-term fear impulses. Individuals with strong, healthy prefrontal function demonstrate greater capacity to inhibit the fear response generated by the amygdala, allowing them to move toward challenge rather than retreating from it automatically. This is not a fixed neurological trait. Prefrontal cortical function is profoundly influenced by experience, behavior, and lifestyle, which means it can be deliberately strengthened. The amygdala, the brain's primary threat detection system, generates fear responses in anticipation of perceived danger. In individuals with low confidence, the amygdala frequently generates threat responses in social and performance situations that do not represent genuine physical danger, but which have been associated through learning with past experiences of rejection, failure, humiliation, or criticism. Public speaking, job interviews, social interactions, romantic pursuit, creative expression. None of these are physically dangerous, but if past experience has associated them with emotional pain, the amygdala treats them as threats, generating a fear response that the individual then interprets as evidence they cannot handle the situation. And here is the most important thing. This is directly modifiable through the mechanism of extinction learning. Extinction learning is the process by which the amygdala's conditioned threat associations are updated through repeated exposure to the feared situation without the feared outcome actually occurring. Every time you engage the feared situation and survive, your amygdala receives new evidence that updates its threat assessment downward. Every time you engage and perform competently, the update is even more powerful. Gradually, the threat signal diminishes. Gradually, the behavior becomes less frightening. Gradually, the predictive model begins shifting from "I cannot handle this" to "I can." This is not a rapid process, but it is an absolutely reliable one when applied consistently over time. At the neurochemical level, serotonin plays a significant role in confident social behavior. Higher serotonergic tone is associated with greater social ease, less reactivity to social threat, and more approach-oriented behavior in social contexts. It is directly supported by regular exercise, sunlight exposure, quality sleep, and positive social connection. Testosterone, in both men and women, is associated with approach motivation and risk tolerance. And crucially, testosterone is responsive to experience. It rises following success and engaged social behavior. It falls following defeat and social withdrawal. This means acting confident before you feel confident is not pretense. It is a legitimate neurological and endocrinological self-intervention that begins to shift the internal state that supports genuine confidence. Part 3. The Psychology of Self-Belief. The most important psychological construct for understanding confidence is self-efficacy, developed by Albert Bandura at Stanford University across decades of rigorous research. Self-efficacy is not global self-esteem, the general sense that you are a good or worthy person. Self-efficacy is domain-specific, your belief in your capacity to produce specific outcomes in specific domains through your own deliberate actions. You can have high self-efficacy in one area, technical skill, athletic performance, leadership, and low self-efficacy in another, social intimacy, public performance, creative risk-taking. This distinction is immediately practical. Low confidence in one area of your life does not define you globally. It identifies a specific domain where specific evidence-building work is needed. Bandura identified 4 primary sources through which self-efficacy is built or eroded. The first and most powerful is mastery experiences, direct personal experiences of succeeding at genuinely challenging tasks. Nothing builds self-efficacy more powerfully than actually doing the difficult thing and succeeding. Even partial success, meaningful progress toward a genuinely difficult goal, updates the predictive model more powerfully than anything else. The second source is vicarious experience, observing others genuinely similar to yourself successfully performing the task. When you see someone you perceive as comparable to yourself achieving what you aspire to, your brain updates its estimate of what is possible for you. This is why mentors, role models, and communities of people who are achieving what you aspire to are neurologically valuable, not just inspirationally meaningful. The third source is social persuasion, credible others communicating genuine belief in your capacity. Effective coaching and authentic encouragement from respected figures operate through this mechanism and have real measurable effects on performance. The fourth source is your physiological and emotional state in the moment of performance. Heart pounding, hands shaking, voice trembling. If interpreted as evidence of incapacity, these reduce self-efficacy and impair performance. But here is the critical insight. The physiological state does not determine performance. The interpretation of the physiological state does, reframing arousal as excitement rather than anxiety, as the body preparing to perform rather than signaling inability to cope, produces measurably better outcomes in controlled research settings. You cannot eliminate the physiological response, but you can change its meaning, and changing its meaning changes its effect on performance. Part 4. 6 Mechanisms for Building Unbreakable Confidence. The first mechanism is progressive exposure to difficulty. Deliberately and systematically engaging with situations slightly beyond your current comfort zone, not recklessly, progressively. Build a ladder of increasingly challenging experiences, each one building the evidence base that makes the next step possible. Start with the challenge that feels difficult but achievable. Complete it. Move to the next level. Confidence is not built in dramatic leaps. It is built in consistent, compounding steps. And here is something critical most people miss. The discomfort you feel when approaching a challenging situation is not a signal to stop. It is a signal that you are in exactly the right place. Discomfort is the feeling of the nervous system updating, of new evidence being collected, of the predictive model being revised upward. Learn to interpret discomfort as progress rather than danger, and the entire relationship with challenge begins to fundamentally shift. The second mechanism is deliberate skill development. Deliberate practice. Practicing at the edge of current ability with focused attention on specific areas requiring improvement builds new, genuine capability. New, genuine capability creates a foundation for confidence that is sustainable because it is rooted in something real and verifiable. The third mechanism is identity-based thinking. Stop saying, I am trying to be more confident. Start saying, I am someone who acts despite fear. Every action aligned with this identity is a vote for it. Every vote makes it more neurologically real and behaviorally embedded. The fourth mechanism is managing your internal narrative. Chronic negative self-talk activates the same neural regions as external social threat, triggering stress responses that impair performance and reinforce the very beliefs generating the self-criticism in the first place. The alternative is self-compassionate realism, acknowledging difficulty honestly while treating yourself with the understanding you would offer someone you genuinely care about. When you fail, ask what you would say to a close friend in that situation. What would be genuinely helpful rather than destructive? Apply that standard to yourself. The neurological impact of this shift is measurable. Lower cortisol, increased approach motivation, better subsequent performance. The fifth mechanism is physical discipline as psychological foundation. Resistance training increases testosterone and growth hormone and provides daily concrete evidence of discipline and follow-through that builds broader self-efficacy across domains. Quality sleep directly supports prefrontal cortical function, the neural region most involved in inhibiting fear and enabling deliberate values-aligned behavior under pressure. These are neurological interventions, not lifestyle suggestions. The sixth mechanism is voluntary social engagement, deliberately increasing the frequency and depth of social interactions, even when uncomfortable, initiating conversations, expressing genuine opinions, disagreeing respectfully when you genuinely disagree, allowing yourself to be seen and to take up appropriate space. Each interaction that goes reasonably well adds evidence to the base. Each interaction that does not go perfectly and from which you recover adds even more powerful evidence. Because genuine confidence is not the belief that everything will always go perfectly. It is the belief that you can handle whatever happens. That distinction is everything. Part 5. What confidence is not. Confidence is not arrogance. Arrogance is the defensive performance of superiority in service of managing deep insecurity. Genuine confidence has no need to diminish others because it is not dependent on comparison for its existence. Truly confident people can acknowledge their limitations openly because their self-worth is not contingent on being superior to others in any given moment. Confidence is not the absence of fear. The most confident people in the world experience fear. Elite performers experience it before major performances. Great leaders experience it before significant decisions. What distinguishes them is not the absence of fear. It is the presence of a commitment to a value, to a goal, to an identity that is more important to them than the fear. They feel it and act anyway, not because they are fearless, because they have built the habit through repeated exposure over time of acting despite fear. That habit is the operational definition of courage, and courage practiced consistently is the engine of genuine confidence. Confidence is not certainty about outcomes. It is the belief that whatever happens, success or failure, you have the capacity to learn from it, adapt, and continue forward. Every failure that you navigate and recover from adds to the evidence base. Every setback absorbed and learned from deepens the foundational belief that you can handle hard things. And the belief that you can handle hard things is the deepest and most unshakable foundation of genuine self-belief. Let me bring everything together. Confidence is a neurological predictive model built through the deliberate accumulation of evidence. Evidence that you can face difficulty, develop competence, recover from failure, and act in alignment with your values despite fear. It is built through progressive exposure, deliberate skill development, identity-based thinking, self-compassionate internal dialogue, physical discipline, voluntary social engagement. The most important insight I want you to leave with is this: you do not need confidence to start. You need to start to build confidence. The action comes first. The feeling follows the evidence. Most people have this completely backwards. They wait to feel ready. They wait to feel confident. They wait for the fear to disappear before they begin. And they wait their entire lives, because the fear does not disappear before you begin. It diminishes through the act of beginning, through the evidence accumulated by showing up despite uncertainty, through the compounding proof that you are someone who does hard things. There is no other way. Every person you admire for their confidence started from exactly where you are right now. They simply chose to act despite the uncertainty, and then they did it again and again, until acting despite uncertainty became not something they did occasionally, but who they fundamentally were. That path is available to you, starting with the next uncomfortable thing in front of you. Thank you so much for watching. Subscribe if you want to keep going this deep every single week, and comment below, what is the one area of your life where you most want to build unshakable confidence? I read every single comment. See you in the next one.